Hi, it's Elise here at Bowman Library with a whole new middle grade book spotlight. So our theme for this week, we are taking a look at books that are set in medieval times. Yes, we are going back in time to medieval times, or what other people call the Middle Ages. It is the time of knights and kings and castles and jousting matches and dragons and maybe dragons, not necessarily, but a lot of dragon stories do take place during medieval times in our fiction here. So we have 6 books that we're going to take a look at. Again, fiction, nonfiction. It's a great selection for you to kind of get your time traveling on back to this time. So let's get started. Speaking of time travel, one of my favorites. This is Knights of the Kitchen Table. This is a Time Warp Trio book. And if you never read a Time Warp Trio book, you need to. Because here is the deal. For Joe's birthday, he always gets excited because he has this uncle who is a magician, and he always gives the best gifts. But this year, Joe is super wicked disappointed because all his uncle gives him is this book. Joe wants nothing with it. He's hanging out with his best friends, Fred and Sam, one day, and they decide, let's see this book. So they open this book, and all of a sudden, they figure out this is not your average book, because there's this mist, smoke coming out of it, and before they know it, they are not in the kitchen sitting at the table anymore. No, they are sucked back in time. They run into King Arthur. They have to fight dragons, giants. They become friends with Knights of the Round Table. And here's the deal. The only way they're going to get back home, they run into Merlin. Merlin tells them the only way they're getting back home is if they can find the book. The book is somewhere in medieval times England. They need to figure out where it is if they're going to get back to modern day to live their lives. It is filled with humor, adventure, there's twists and turns. If you're not into maybe medieval times, Middle Ages, there are plenty of others that they go back in time to. I highly recommend this book and this series. This is one of my favorites. This is Knights of the Kitchen Table. Our next one is The Squires Tale. So Terence is an orphan who was raised by this hermit who knows magic and he can see into the future. So when he meets this young knight named Gawain asks Terence to become his squire. A squire is basically someone who follows the knight around and takes care of him and makes sure everything's in order. And Terence agrees. What else does he have going on? So they start this journey in which Gawain goes throughout the land, and Terence just follows him, and they have battles, and there's fights, and Gawain's racking up kills, and all while trying to save the damsel in distress. So this humor-filled look at the tale of a knight who eventually joins the Knights of the Round Table is told through the eyes of his squire Terence, and is one that is filled with heart, as twists and turns. There's non-stop action and adventure. This is the first book in a series that has 8 books. So if you want to find a series, you need something to read, you love reading series, you love the commitment, this might be the one that you're looking for. This is The Squires Tale. The Middle Ages, an interactive history adventure. So if you love choose your own adventure books, then this is it. This is for you. This takes the idea of a choose your own adventure, but puts you back in time, back in history, where you have to choose your own adventure. And this one in the Middle Ages. So you can become a knight and you have to go fight in battles. Or you have to try to survive the Black Death. Or you even get to live in a castle, which isn't as nice and awesome as what you think it might be, especially in the Middle Ages. But you will be in the shoes of someone who actually lived there, and you will be able to choose and read different stories and maybe survive, maybe not some stories. But this is all in one book. Now I will tell you, there are plenty of others of these that take place in other times or other events in history. So if you want one of these, but maybe not Middle Ages, there are others, but I highly encourage you, recommend this one. This is The Middle Ages, an interactive history adventure. Our next one is The Battle for the Castle. So in the follow-up to Castle in the Attic, William is now 12 years old, and he's having a bit of a hard time, especially with his best friend Jason. So when William receives this magic magic button that when he uses it, it allows him to change size. He decides he's going to show off to Jason, and both of them end up shrinking to like a miniature size, and they end up re-entering this castle that they went into a couple years earlier. And in this castle, William is hailed as a hero, but things are not as great as what they were when they left 2 years ago, because now there is this huge army that is arriving, and it is filled with these rats who literally eat everything and everyone, and it's going to be up to William and his friends to save the day and defeat this rat army. This humor-filled adventure is like time travel. There's some fantasy in it. You may wish you could go back. You could shrink yourself, go into a castle, maybe not fight an army of rats, but you never know. This is the battle for the castle. Diggery and the Lost King. So our story starts with Diggery trying to prepare for his first tournament, but he really isn't that great at anything in the tournament, especially jousting. So, but when he comes to find out, he starts this tournament, his opponent is this girl named Enid. She is even worse than he is. And because of that, the tournament never seems to end because there's never a, quote, winner between them in all of their events. But when Enid's father, who is King Widget, he disappears, it's going to be up to Diggery and Enid to join forces in order to find him and save him. Now, there's this crazy adventure that then follows, complete with them finding a baby dragon, and then Diggery being accused of being a wizard and being sentenced to death, and the dragon kind of maybe possibly saving them, and yeah. So if you love a fantasy-filled, night, twisted turn, humor, can't really take it serious adventure, you'll need to read this one. This is Diggery and the Lost King. And our last one for this week is called Night. What I love about this book is it is a nonfiction book that will literally take you through everything you would probably ever want to know about what it takes to be a knight. From what they wear, to what they eat, to even where they sleep. Because believe it or not, knights had a special place where they would sleep. How they train themselves, how they would enter battle, even if they were captured and they were held hostage. How would that work? So you will read about all that stuff and more. There's filled with tons of pictures. Again, like one of the things I love about this is they explain everything. I mean, like even here, if you look, there's all these boxes, there's arrows. You will become an expert on everything you need to know about knights. Now, there are also some other books in the series that are about other types of warriors. So if you want to become an expert on more than just knights, but you're interested in warriors, make sure to check this series out. There's gladiators, there's Roman soldiers, there's Vikings, there's others. This is a great series. I love it. You will become an expert and you'll be able to show off all your knight facts and skills and things like that. So this is Knight. So these are just 6 of the books that we have here at the library that are set at medieval times. They're about the Middle Ages. You can time travel without even having to leave your couch, and you will find yourself in this time like hundreds of years ago, and you will become an expert and be able to show off to your friends and family about how smart you are, especially about things in the past. So we encourage you to come out, check out one of these, or we can help you find that specific book about medieval times that you may be dying to read. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you tune back next week when we have a whole new middle grade book spotlight.